Back to normal programming. It's a fully stacked Wednesday show. Josh Ward and some PFF grades. Who performed the best against the best? We'll find out here on Wednesday's Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, you wonderful people? Welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols, your go-to Tennessee Volunteers podcast each and every day. It is a part of the VolQuest. It's a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Eric Kane. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me here today. We got a fun show. Josh Ward coming up in segment 1. And then we're going to take a look at the Pro Football Grade Book for offense and defense. That's coming up here on today's show. And today's show is brought to you in part by Sweatblock. If you or someone you love is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, try Sweatblock. Save 20% with promo code LOCKEDON at sweatblock.com. Also available on Amazon. Go ahead and hit that like button, pound that like button on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for listening anywhere you get your podcasts, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. That is your team every single day. Guys, without further ado, let's get into it. This is my conversation with Josh Ward for Little Ward Wednesday. Pretty good game there on Saturday, eh?
You're talking about Florida LSU, more higher scoring. Oh no, you're talking Tennessee Alabama. The best game that I can't even think of a comparison that I've been to at Neyland Stadium with the high scoring, the quarterback back and forth, the stakes, and then what it meant for Tennessee, of course, to get the win. And it's a walk-off win as time expires. That game was everything, and the celebrations reflected just what that meant.
Yeah, it was a wild scene down there. Was there a point in the game where let me ask you this: when it was 28-10, did you think it was over?
I did not. No, I was. I had picked Tennessee to win without a great level of confidence, just because of the history of this series. Of course, when it was 28-10, though, I was very confident in Tennessee's chances. Bold statement, I know, but no, I expected Alabama to make some kind of rally and make some kind of game of it.
And, of course, it did. But when it came back down to it, Hendon Hooker, Jalin Hyatt, I mean, what a game. Your co-host, Jason Swain, played a little wide receiver at Tennessee. What's been the conversation like on Josh and Swain about Jalin Hyatt and that legendary performance that's going to live in Tennessee football lore forever?
Yeah, it is that. It is a game that fans will talk about forever. There is a list of big-time performances in big-time games, and this series is right there at the top, and he joins the list. And Joey Kent, who has one of the biggest individual plays in Tennessee history, it came against Alabama, and it's remembered because of that game. 95, play number 1. It was an epic call. It was a legend throwing the ball to a legend, and it helped snap a streak. Well, Joey Kent, after the game, called Jalin Hyatt a legend. Number 11 to number 11 in that case, by the way. But he's that because the streak ends. The series has been what it has been over the last decade and a half, and that's no longer the conversation. And it allows Tennessee's program to be talked about among the best programs in the country again. And it's been too long since that's happened. So this is on that list of games that fans will talk about forever. And the first player, the first performance within the game that fans will forever remember is what Jalin Hyatt did.
Josh, you've been covering this team, been around this team a lot longer than I have because you're so much older than me, obviously.
Significantly older, yes.
Significantly, yes. Biggest Tennessee football win since when? I mean, do you have to go all the way back to the 01 season, or would it be the 98 season? I mean, biggest Tennessee win since when?
Yeah, so it's a little complicated to try to answer because my first reaction is 01 Florida, but then that can be negated because we know that the next week, Tennessee lost in the SEC title game to LSU and lost that chance to go play for a national title. So that 0-1 Florida win, the way that it's remembered is affected by what happened next, which this game can be as well. So knowing the result, then I think you have to go back to 98 and the win against Florida. That mattered so much, getting through Spurrier and knowing what that could mean. I mean, there's the national championship win, but in terms of games at Neyland Stadium, the 0-1 win is on the road. 98, the Arkansas win is huge, but that was more of a sigh of relief win for Tennessee. The win against Florida is comparable to the Alabama win. That's the one where you have the field being rushed and the goalpost coming down. So that's probably my answer. 0-1 at Florida was huge, and 98 Arkansas in the national championship. Obviously, you're not topping that because that's the national championship. But if we go to Neyland Stadium, I think the Florida 98 win and this past weekend's win against Alabama are very comparable for several reasons. Legendary coaches you're going up against as well,
Yeah.
Steve Spurrier and Nick Saban.
Alabama's got some good football players. Tennessee absolutely made Will Anderson Jr. a non-factor. He made one play, and it was a big play. I'll say that. He picked up J.J. Crawford and took him back into Hendon Hooker and affected the throw. There was some other, rush on that play, but that was a Will Anderson play. But that was the only play. I mean, Tennessee neutralized him. Tennessee did a great job. Darnell Wright made some money this week. He's made some money 2 weeks in a row, actually. But both Tennessee's tackles did a good job. And, Will Anderson Jr. was a non-factor, but unfortunately, Bryce Young was. He is a really, really talented football player, is he not?
Bryce Young, he's terrific. And if Alabama hits a field goal to win the game, and we're not having the conversation we are here over the last few days, then we're coming out of that game talking about what Bryce Young did for his Heisman campaign.
Yeah.
But Tennessee won the game, so the conversation then flips to Hendon Hooker, and that is how the award works. And by the way, Hendon was terrific. That's why that game is elevated in my mind, Eric, is because the quarterback battle was terrific. And quarterbacks don't go up against one another, and a lot of times that statement can be overdone. But Saturday, especially in the second half, once Alabama had started to mount a comeback, it did feel like it was quarterback versus quarterback who could lead his team the farthest for that road to a championship. And really Alabama's coming out of it still with a terrific chance to get to the SEC title game and get to the playoffs. So Nick Saban's right there. But Bryce Young was spectacular. Hendon Hooker came out the winner with 5 touchdowns and making plays. What he's able to do with his legs. He didn't have any spectacular runs, but he had drive extenders that then set up Hendon's ability to make plays with his arm. But if I had known that Bryce Young was going to go for 450 plus on Saturday, I don't think I would have picked Tennessee. I still would have said, okay, Tennessee's got a shot. We saw Anthony Richardson do what he did. But knowing what Alabama is, if they had that from Bryce Young, I wouldn't have been nearly as confident in the pick, where I still struggled there to begin with. But that's a statement to what Hendon and the offense was able to do. They got to 52 and they needed all 52 points.
Yeah, they certainly did. And, Hendon, I think he had like 53 yards on the ground, but he wasn't a big part of the run game because he didn't have to, which was good. But like whenever Tennessee's backed up in their own territory, Hendon just takes off. Just a smart veteran football play, knowing when to give himself some time.
Yeah, turning a 1st and 10 or a 2nd and 11. Yeah, I'm not being specific there, but those type situations into a 2nd and 3 or 4 or a 3rd and short just makes things so much easier for Josh Heupel with what they're going to do next. And it's something the defense has to continue to pay attention to. So it's a weapon within the offense, and it really matters Hendon's ability to take off and run, or if Tennessee designs something for him to be able to pick up some positive yardage to get that series of downs or that drive started up.
Josh, we asked this, after every Tennessee win now, and it's kind of fun to talk about early in the week every week. What's the ceiling now? Let me phrase it. What's the floor for this Tennessee team now? Because again, we as media members and fans, we can have this conversation. It makes you cringe if someone in that locker room is having this conversation. But you look ahead,
right? Obviously,
Georgia. You got the Kentucky game that Tennessee's going to have to come and play in. Of course, you can't come out there flat and. Kentucky can beat you if you do, but Tennessee should beat Kentucky. Tennessee should beat South Carolina. Tennessee should beat, Missouri and Vanderbilt by, 40 points if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
What's the floor for the Tennessee football team? And for the first time in, a decade plus, easily, I mean, you can have that conversation of some type of championship here this season. I mean, that's where this team is.
Yeah, I think the floor, so like how you see the worst case realistically going for Tennessee is 10-2 going to the Sugar Bowl. And I think it's likely that Tennessee goes 11-1 with still having a shot at going to the playoff. That scenario is pretty obvious. You lose to Georgia on the road, but if Georgia wins the SEC title game and is 13-0, and other teams have lost out there in other conferences, that an 11-1 Tennessee team with a win against Alabama and one of the best offenses in the country gets selected as one of the 4 to go to the playoff. The 10-2 floor, that's your question there, and go to the Sugar Bowl. Yeah, I think the scenario there is you lose to Georgia and you slip up, and that's what it would be if Tennessee were to lose to Kentucky or to South Carolina. I don't see the scenario with Missouri or Vanderbilt. I know Missouri almost beat Georgia, but them coming here, Eric, I don't see it really. South Carolina, I'd be close to stunned if that were to happen, but I just referenced Georgia, Missouri, and it almost happened there. So that's why it has to be on the table to discuss. But Tennessee's offense, as good as it is what makes it so unlikely to me that Kentucky's able to come to Knoxville and keep up with Tennessee. Came close last year, so that's why it has to be talked about. And South Carolina, if they were to put things together and Tennessee turn the ball over, but that's the area Tennessee is in now. You know how we've talked about over the years. Well, if Tennessee's going to upset Alabama or Tennessee's going to upset Georgia or even Florida, they've got to be like +3 in the turnover battle. Well, that's what South Carolina's probably going to have to do to pull off an upset against Tennessee. Something like that, or big plays that swing the other way. I think 10-2 is worst case scenario right now for Tennessee, and 11-1 is a more realistic things going the wrong way. And by the way, Tennessee's going to have a chance, absolutely, in Athens to beat Georgia.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Tennessee lost the turnover battle 2-1 against Alabama the other night.
Yeah,
I mean and you still won the football game. I mean, it's even wild to think about.
Yeah, and one of those turnovers was a touchdown for Alabama.
Yeah.
Now, they also had the huge mistake on the punt return, which turned into a quick 7 points for Tennessee. But that's how things have changed. There have not been too many times in the last 15 years where Tennessee could lose the turnover battle and have any kind of shot of winning, let alone covering what was a huge spread at the time. So that's another example of how things have changed for Tennessee for sure.
A lot to talk about. A lot of happy campers on Josh and Swain. One particular being the VFL that has a particular disdain for Alabama. So you can catch all that noon to 3 on 99.1 The Sports Animal. Josh and Swain. Josh, appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
You got it. Thank you, Eric.
All right. Every single weekday with Josh Ward. That is Ward Wednesday. Hey, I want to tell you about our friends over at LinkedIn before we hit the reset. Every single day, there's new hires that can be made with high-stakes wager. It's what it feels like for your small business. You can be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. So go to LinkedIn Jobs, then post your job, add your job with the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and ultimately hire. It's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus the leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Always a fun time catching up with Josh Ward. Really do appreciate his time each and every week. And please catch his radio show with VFL Jason Swain. That's noon to 3 weekdays on 99.1 The Sports Animal. You can check it out there. All right, time for some pro football focus grades. First up, let's talk about the offense. And a lot of you guys were asking for a grading scale. I usually put it out there at the beginning of the show, but anyway, I put it at the bottom screen as well if you need it. Elite is considered 90 to 99, very good, 80 to 89. Average or above average starter is 70 to 79. An average starter is 60 to 69. Below average starter is 50 to 59. And less than 50 is considered a backup level player. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see that on the rolling ticker at the bottom. Let's go ahead and get into it. For offense, obviously a lot of good grades because Tennessee put up over 500 yards of total offense and had a couple guys shine, of course. Well, let's start from the top. Hendon Hooker, of course, is your quarterback. And on the day, Hendon Hooker did very, very well. He graded out with the, the second highest grade overall of this football game. It's on 75 snaps. Remember, he came out for 1 snap, and it was Joe Milton that threw the Hail Mary there right before the half. But Hendon Hooker graded out at an 83.5 on the day. 83.5. I'm not going to bury the lead. Your #1 vote getter, the highest grade on offense for the Tennessee football team. Who else? Jalin Hyatt, right? 75 snaps in that football game. 85.8 was his grade. 85.8. So you had 2 guys who were in the 80s. That would be Hendon Hooker and Jalin Hyatt. Hyatt 1, Hendon Hooker 2. And then you got to jump down to the 72.2, and that's where running back Jabari Small comes in. Small, the 3rd highest grade, 44 snaps, 72.2. Let's stay with the running backs. Let's go Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright was the 5th highest offensive player to grade out, 32 snaps and 69.3. And remember, when you get in the 60s, that is considered an average starter, right? And, in school, 60s are Fs, right? But not according to Pro Football Focus. Let's go in order of positions now to the tight ends. Princeton Fant, 6th highest grader out on offense, 34 snaps, 67.7. Jacob Warren, 8th highest grade on offense. Jacob Warren played 43 snaps and graded out at 66.1. Wide receivers, Brew McCoy had the 10th highest grade on offense, 76 snaps on the day, 60.2 was Brew McCoy's grade. Jalin Hyatt, I've already mentioned him. He had the top grade of 85.8, of course. Ramel Keaton, the 7th highest grade on offense, 76 snaps, and 67.0 was Ramel Keaton's grade. A really good grade there for Ramel Keaton. To the offensive line we go. Working from left to right, 2 left tackles in this football game. Both of those guys played 38 snaps equal. Gerald Mincey, who played most of the first half, 56.1. J.J. Crawford, who played much of the second half, 56.5. 56.5. Those were grades 12 and 13 on offense, respectively, with J.J. Crawford just one spot ahead of Gerald Mincey. To left guard, Jerome Carvin, the 11th highest grade on offense, 76 snaps, and 59.8 was his grade. Cooper Mays had the 13th highest grade on offense, 76 snaps, 56.1. Javonte Spraggins, Pro Football Focus does not like Javonte Spraggins this week. 15th highest grade, that was the lowest grade on offense. Tennessee only played 15 players. 76 snaps, 45.3 was Javonte Spraggins' grade. And then Darnell Wright's, PFF loved him. He looked good in real time. He looked good on replay, and he looked good according to PFF. 4th highest offensive grade overall, 76 snaps, 72.0. 72.0. And remember, this Alabama defensive front was really, really good. Let's look at the run blocking and who did well in that regard. Gerald Mincey was the worst run blocker on the team, according to Pro Football Focus, at 50.4. J.J. Crawford, the 10th highest, or the 10th best, I guess, in terms of run blocking. 56.4 was his run blocking grade. Jerome Carvin, 11th. 55.0 was his run blocking grade. They have receivers in this as well, and even running back sometimes. I don't put these on my sheet just because, the snaps are, not very large considering what they consider a run block for, Jalen Wright or something when he doesn't have the ball. Let's go to Cooper Mays, had the 9th highest grade, 56.9. Javonte Spraggins, again, 14th, 48.0. 48.0 was his run blocking grade. Darnell Wright, 71.4 was number 2. That was a really good grade. Princeton Fant, number 7, 58.7 was his run blocking grade. And then Jacob Warren had the top run blocking grade at 73.1. Now let's look at pass blocking, right? There's a lot of helpers, tight ends, running backs helped out a lot. And Jabari Small actually leads the way here. He was number 1 in terms of pass blocking in this football game with an 80.4 grade. Now, he didn't get as many pass blocking reps as, say, a Darnell Wright would, but it was a really good day for Tennessee's running backs in helping with pass protection with those blitzing linebackers and stuff coming off the edge. So Jabari Small, number 1 in pass blocking at 80.4. Jalen Wright was number 5 on the team in pass blocking, 66.2, which is really good. Let's go to the offensive line. Gerald Mincey, number 7, 64.7 was his pass blocking grade. J.J. Crawford, 8, 53.1 was his pass blocking grade. Jerome Carvin, really solid day in the interior. 2nd highest pass blocking grade on the team, 74.7. You had Cooper Mays, who had the 4th highest pass blocking grade at 67.1. Javonte Spraggins, again, lowest on the team, 22.3 in terms of pass blocking grades. Darnell Wright, number 6 at 65.4. And the tight ends get some love as well. Princeton Fant, when he stayed in the block, 3rd highest pass blocking grade at 67.5. And then Jacob Warren, number 9 on the team, not very good, but 34.3 on this football game. So that's a look at the offensive pass blocking and, overall grades and all that type of stuff. Let's look at the passing tree in terms of what Hendon Hooker looked like in this one. Hendon Hooker was kept clean on 73% of his dropbacks. He was under pressure on 26% of his dropbacks. He was not blitzed 86% of the time, and he was blitzed 13.2% of the time. When Hendon Hooker was kept clean, he was 90.9 was his grade as a quarterback. When he was under pressure, 55.7 was his grade as a quarterback. When he was not blitzed, 87.4 was his grade. When he was blitzed, 60 was his grade. So again, that's pretty obvious stuff right there in terms of quarterback. Look at the passing tree. Outside left, passes of 20 yards or more down the field. Hooker was 1 for 2 with a touchdown. Between the numbers, 20 yards or down the field. Hendon Hooker was 4 of 5, 159 yards and a touchdown. Hello, Jalin Hyatt. Outside right, 20 yards down the field, 0 for 2. You got 10 yards down the field between 10 and 20. To the right, no attempts. Middle of the field, 4 of 7 for 71 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. And then no attempts between 10 and 12 yards to the left side. From the line of scrimmage, to 10 yards down the field. No attempts to the left side. Over the middle, 6 of 7 for 58 yards. And to the right, 2 of 3 for 11 yards. Behind the line of scrimmage, you had between the numbers, of course, this is the Jalin Hyatt. That's what he got as his touchdown. 3 of 3, 21 yards and a touchdown. And then to the right, behind the line of scrimmage, 1 of 1 for 5 yards. I think that went to Jabari Small. So that is a look at the Pro Football Focus grades for offense. Now, what about the defense? How did they do in this football game? We'll tell you all about that here in just 1 second when we return. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Sweat Block. Okay, Chris, let me tell you about this review now. Chris suffered from exercise. He always was exercising, always out in the heat. And he suffered from excessive underarm sweat for about 10 years, okay? He was so worried about sweating through his dress shirts that he started tucking maxi pads into his shirt to soak up the sweat until he found out about Sweat Block. Sweat Block changed the game for him, and it can change the game for you as well. It's created by a doctor to help with his own excessive sweating. It is doctor created. It is doctor recommended. So if you or someone you love is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, try Sweat Block. You can save 20% with the promo code Locked On. That's 20% with the promo code Locked On at sweatblock.com. It's also available on Amazon. So I'm telling you right now, don't fear anymore. If you or someone is embarrassed, someone you love, you want to help them out, they struggle with sweat, struggle with body odor. I know we're getting into the winter months here, but it's East Tennessee, at least where I live. So it could be 75 degrees tomorrow with the sun out all day long, right? Try Sweat Block. It'll help you out. Sweat Block, sweatblock.com, promo code Locked On, or you can buy it on Amazon. I want to welcome you back into Locked On Vols. This is your Wednesday edition. We've caught up with Josh Ward. We have gone over the PFF grades for offense. And now we're going to take a look at the Pro Football grades for defense for the Tennessee Volunteers against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Remember, grading scale, elite, 90 to 99. Very good, 80 to 89. Above average starter, 70 to 79. Average starter, 60 to 69. Below average starter, 50 to 59. And less than 50 is considered a backup level player. Just a reminder, Pro Football Focus is something. It's not everything. They don't know the proper assignments on every single play. I mean, they're just watching on tape like we are. So it's not everything, but it kind of looks at the game at a different angle, and that's why I like it. Also, it gives snap counts, which I am a huge fan of. All right, let's go position by position, okay? Let's start with the Leos. Byron Young, 13th highest grade on defense, 73 snaps, 55.3 for Byron Young. Roman Harrison, second highest grade on defense, 26 snaps in this football game, 74.9. Other Leo, Joshua Josephs, 39 snaps. That's what you like to see. His grade was 47.7. Not the best day from Joshua Josephs, but again, this is Alabama. But he had 39 snaps. True freshman playing 39 snaps against Alabama. So that's pretty impressive. Amari Thomas, 11th highest grade on defense, 36 snaps in this football game, 56.2 was his grade. Deshaun Terry, who got the start, 15th highest grade on defense, 22 snaps, 53.2 was his grade. Bryson Eason, 25th highest grade on defense, 12th snaps, 42.0 was his grade. A reminder, Tennessee played on defense in this football game, 25 players, were Tennessee on offense played 15, one of which was Joe Milton, who went in for one play. Kerrod Garland, graded out the highest on defense, but he only played 9 snaps. 75.9 was his grade. Dominic Bailey, 17th highest on the team, 26 snaps, 52.0 was his grade. Elijah Simmons, 19th on defense, 5 snaps, 51.3. Latrell Bumpus, 59 snaps in this football game. He started the last 2 games at that 5 technique where Tyler Barron plays. 24th highest grade on defense, 44.4 was his grade. But again, Latrell Bumpus played 59 snaps. That's the most snaps he's probably ever played in a Tennessee uniform. Tyler Barron, 9th highest grade on defense, 44 snaps, 57.5 was his grade. Jeremy Banks at linebacker, again, Pro Football Focus, never a big fan of Jeremy Banks. I thought he played one of his better games, missed some assignments, but was flying all over the place. Jeremy Banks, 19th highest grade on defense, 54 snaps, and he had a grade of 51.3. Juwan Mitchell, 11th highest grade on defense, 68 snaps for Juwan Mitchell, 56.2. Aaron Beasley, 17th highest grade on defense, 42 snaps, and his grade was 52.0. And Solon Page, 4th highest grade on defense, played 12 snaps, did Solon Page. 52.0 was his, 66.7 was the grade of Solon Page. The star position, Tamari McDonald, nice bounce back day. He was the 5th highest grader on defense, 67 snaps, 66.6 was that grade. Wesley Walker, who spent time at star and safety, 3rd highest grade on defense. He played 30 snaps, 72.4, a really good game, according to Pro Football Focus for Wesley Walker. Safety Trayvon Flowers played every snap on defense, 88 snaps, graded out the 10th highest grade on defense of a score of 56.9. Danico Slaughter, who got the start for Jalen McCullough, 8th highest grade on defense, 77 snaps in this football game, 58.2. Christian Charles, 21st highest grade on defense, 82 snaps, 50.9. Deshaun Rucker, who played a lot of football, 14th highest grade for Tennessee, 57 snaps, easily a career high, and his grade was 55. Brandon Turnage, who gained confidence in this football game, the 6th highest grader router on defense, 20 snaps, and his grade was 66.0. D. Williams did play defense, only 13 snaps, 48.2 was his grade, and William Wright, the walk-on, who played the last 4 snaps on defense at cornerback, graded out at 52.5. Those are the grades for Tennessee defensively. So what about in coverage? Let's take a look at this in coverage, okay? Tamarian McDonald was targeted 7 times. He gave up 7 receptions for 41 yards and no touchdowns. No touchdowns did Tamarian McDonald give up despite just 41 yards. Trayvon Flowers was targeted 7 times, gave up 6 receptions for 54 yards and no touchdowns. Let's see here. Deshaun Rucker was targeted 6 times, only gave up 2 receptions for 63 yards and let's see here. No touchdowns. Danico Slaughter was targeted 4 times, gave up 2 receptions for 37 yards. D. Williams is the one that gave up a touchdown, and Aaron Beasley is the one that gave up a touchdown, according to Pro Football Focus. Who else in targets? Let's see here. Christian Charles was targeted 7 times, gave up 6 receptions for 120 yards. D. Williams was targeted twice, gave up 1 reception. It was for a touchdown, 7 yards. Aaron Beasley was targeted 3 times, gave up 3 receptions for 32 yards. Jeremy Banks was targeted 3 times, gave up 3 receptions for 48 yards. So overall, wasn't that bad, guys. It really wasn't that bad. I know there's a lot to get better at, but still, when you consider who was out there at points in times in this football game, it really wasn't bad. All right, that is a look at the Pro Football Focus grades. We do it every single Wednesday right here on Locked On Vols as we take a look back and kind of close the book on the game from the prior weekend. Of course, we got UT Martin. Tennessee has UT Martin coming up this weekend. We'll continue to take a look at the Skyhawks, but hopefully hear from some other guests throughout the week as well. Still, the big story of the week, it is Tennessee's win over Alabama. The Vols move up to number 3 in the AP poll, number 4 in the coaches poll, are 6-0 and 3-0 in SEC play. Hey, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Vols. Can't thank you enough for hanging out with me here today. Go ahead and please pound that like button if you're watching on YouTube. Fill the comment section and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, please subscribe and listen completely free on your audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, all that good stuff. Check out Locked On SEC. Make that your second listen, of course, because Locked On Vols is your first listen each and every day. Same time, same place. We will do it again tomorrow. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody.